Welcome to the Catholic Life Coach Podcast. My name is Carla Fitz. I'm a certified life coach, wife, and mom of two beautiful little girls. My hope for this podcast is to offer support and empower other Catholic women to live their most authentic life. To share life coaching tools from a Catholic perspective in order to help you live a more fulfilling life filled with peace, joy, and abundance. Let's get started. Hello and welcome. I am so thrilled and excited for this episode. This is going to be a bit of a different episode because I have invited a new friend to come and chat with me about education and about our role as the parents of our beautiful children. This is a topic that is very, very dear to my heart. As a life coach, one of the things that I have learned is to step into the authenticity of whom God is calling you to be. And that is why I have invited Pauline to come and talk to us about her school. She has a Montessori school and she has so much knowledge on how to support our children in the best way that we can. I'm going to stop talking now so that I don't spoil the whole thing, but I hope you enjoy it. And I would love to hear feedback from all of you and share with me if this was helpful. And yeah, let me know. Also, if you have other friends that are parents that you think would benefit from this episode, make sure to share it. I am sending you all so much love. And for now, enjoy the podcast. Hello, friends, and welcome to this episode. I am so excited. This is going to be a very special episode. I've invited a friend to come over with me, and we're going to have some great conversations, so I'm super excited. Her name is Pauline, and we are going to be talking a little bit about our role as the primary educators for our children. And it's going to be so powerful. It's such a beautiful topic, and I'm really excited for it. Hi, Pauline. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hello, it's so good to be on here. Thanks for inviting me on.
I'm very excited to have you. Yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us your name, what you do, and yeah, what you're all about.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to chat. So I'm Pauline Meert. I'm in Denver, Colorado. I run Sophia Montessori Academy, and I've been a Montessori teacher for a long time, 18 years, and just really passionate about, working with parents, working with children, and sharing the Catholic faith through the Montessori approach. And I'm excited for us to chat of how I've seen parents really take on that role of being primary educators and how I've been able to support and help in that role as much as I can. I myself am not a parent, but have 16 nieces and nephews and have again been with children for many, many years. So, and parents too. So that's a little bit about me and yeah, excited to chat.
I love it. What made you start the school? Tell us a little bit about that story of how you got started.
Yeah. So gosh, going back a ways away, when I was 16, I had a spiritual director slash counselor, and we were just kind of chatting like, what do you want to do with your life? As you do when you're 16, like, I don't know. And I kind of shared that I just wanted to, make an impact in the world. I wanted to save children from abortion. I wanted to, I had these big dreams the way teenagers do, which is such a gift to the teenage years. And then the priest, Father Tim, said, well, you'd be a great Montessori teacher. She was French or something. I'm French originally, moved to the US when I was 11. And I was like, well, Montessori doesn't sound very French, but I'll go on Wikipedia. So I did. So I went on Wikipedia and I was like, that sounds great. I'll do some college and then I'll do my Montessori training. And, it sounds cool, whatever. And so I ended up, doing just that and had no clue what I was getting myself into. But very quickly, I really fell in love with the approach, the method. Maria Montessori's work is just incredible. She was a genius when it comes to teaching children math. She was also a genius in teaching children to have intrinsic motivation and to really grow to their God-given full potential. So Maria Montessori herself was Catholic. And back, 18 years ago, there were very, very few Montessori schools that I knew about. So I was like, well, I'll start my own. I'll start a Catholic Montessori school. And 10 years later, through a lot of grace and a lot of work and a lot of support from family and friends and the whole Denver community, really, just a lot of the young adults and other families and yeah, just everybody came together and we opened Sophia Montessori Academy in 2018. And we just moved into a bigger building last year, and now we're growing, and we have children up to age 9 now, which is really exciting. So kind of just how I tried to listen to God's word and surrender it all to him, because for a while it felt like it was impossible,
Of course.
and let him do the work. I kind of just tried to follow along.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing is like that's our job as their daughters is to trust them in the process because he's going to lead us. And it's so
Mhm.
beautifully done with you. How he led you from the very beginning to where you're at now. It's just beautiful. I would love to know, and I'm sure the listeners would love to know this too. Tell us a little bit about Montessori. Like what is different about Montessori versus our regular school system? And yeah, how would you explain it to somebody that doesn't know
Yeah,
anything about it? Yeah.
yeah, I'll give you the elevator speech, but feel free to ask me to
Yeah,
go
yeah, of
more in
course.
depth, or stop me if I'm talking too much. But so Maria Montessori started off as a medical doctor first, and she was a strong Italian woman. She had to ask permission from the Pope to be able to go to medical school. So she was the first female doctor of Italy of modern times. There may have been others, in the past. And so she worked first with children with special needs, and at the time they were kind of just forgotten about, put away in a room, and just left to their own devices. And being a woman with a strong heart, and coming from a scientific point of view, she saw that they really needed things to do with their hands. They were playing with the crumbs on the floor. She was like, well, why are we not giving them something? So she did a lot of studying and a lot of trial and error, and gave them a lot of hands-on materials. And after a year, the children did just as well as other children in the standardized tests of the time in
Yeah.
Italy. And so then her next question was like, well, if this is true for these children, is it true for all children? And beautifully, she found that yes, it is. And so some of her major discoveries or observations are to follow the child, to take a step back as the adult and not push for everything, and kind of allow the child to guide his or her learning. She split development into different, what she called planes. So the first plane of development, 0 to 6, the primary goal is physical independence. 6 to 12, the primary goal is intellectual independence. So help me to think for myself. 12 to 18 is a social independence. Who am I within my peers, and how do I act socially? And then 18 to 24 is a spiritual independence. How do I give back to the world all the gifts that I've received? And for us Catholics, it's more of like, how not only do I grow in holiness, but how do I really fulfill this vocation, this call that God has called me to, whatever it may be. And so that's just deeply beautiful, just in itself. If that's all she had done, that would already be huge.
Yes, that's beautiful.
But then she started her own school where children were able to work at child-sized tables, and she brought out toys and saw that they didn't care that much about the toys. They would play a little bit, but what they really wanted were those hands-on materials that taught certain concepts and skills. So very quickly, she had kings and queens coming to observe her school and to see her at work,
Impressive.
and traveled the world to share about her discoveries and her method. And really, what she often said was that she didn't set out to change education. She really just set out to observe the needs of the child. And that's what's called the Montessori method, is following the needs of the child.
Mm.
So with the 3 to 6 year olds, giving them the time to practice tying on their shoes, instead of doing it for them. And what she found is deeply impactful, of course, in the field of education, but it also is deeply impactful for parents, because it
Yes.
allows parents the knowledge on like, oh, wait, I don't have to do everything for my child. And what my child needs in this plane of development is this, but in this plane of development, things are going to be different. And like a little tidbit is, when you have siblings in different planes of development, they're going to clash a little bit more because they're less understanding of each other. But when you have siblings in the same plane of development, they might like work really, really well together. So it's really interesting to see how that affects education as well as the home life.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I love all of it too, because I was an educator prior to becoming a life coach. And but when I had my children, things shifted. It's like then I started, it was in my face how much they needed me and how much they changed very quickly. And that was one of the first things that I noticed with my first, when she started wanting to be independent in what she was doing. And as a parent, I think at the beginning, I was like, oh my goodness, I'll help you. I'll help you do the thing. But it's such an amazing, beautiful thing for them to do it and for them to experience it. And now that I have a 7-year-old, she's more into why. This doesn't seem like the right answer, mom. And she asks such profound questions all the time that, yeah, it's just such a beautiful thing to experience, to let them do their thing in their own level and in their own time. And for those of you who do not know, I am actually homeschooling. So I see this all the time. This is why this topic was such a beautiful topic for me, because I'm like, yes, let's talk about education and what they need and how we can help us parents. Because I don't think that we all have the same desire, nor can we agree that one version of education is going to be the one and only path. We need to see what our needs as parents are and what the needs of our kids are, right? And yes, like we will have preference naturally.
Of
But
course.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, to speak on that a little bit, I strongly believe that Montessori is for every child in the sense that
yes,
ideally it follows every child and it looks to their development and it teaches adults to be observers, to adjust our environment, adjust how we approach things to really meet the needs that children have.
yes,
So, but then that can happen at home too. It doesn't have to be in a Montessori school. And not every Montessori school is going to be authentically Montessori or the right fit for every family. You know,
yes,
you don't, it might not be a good idea for your family, hypothetical like for one
yes,
family to drive 45 minutes. And for another
mhm,
family, it might be perfect,
yeah,
you know. One
100%, yeah,
exactly, so that's one small way it might, differ. But no matter where your children are in school, having the time to kind of see what Montessori was saying and what her nuggets, are particularly about the planes of development, but also about, yeah, taking a step back, giving children lessons about how we greet visitors before visitors come. If you have friends who come over for a play date, what does it look like? How do you establish boundaries and things like that? It's one of my favorite tidbits to share with parents is, yeah, practice what we call grace and courtesy lessons, or and that can apply for anything, be it how we go to church. Let's
yeah,
practice. Go to the church when it's not mass, when it's a quiet time, and this is how we stand, this is how we sit, this is how we kneel, this is
yeah,
how we make the sign of the cross, 10, 15 minutes, and then when we come on Sunday, that's what we'll do. And if it's
yeah,
great, awesome. If it's terrible, that's okay. We'll come back and we'll practice again and we'll try again and we'll learn. So those skills are helpful to parents no matter where your children are.
yes,
So yeah, and I think it's really important for parents to have the time and space to discern where it makes the most sense for you to be. And it might be
yes,
home and it might be in a public school, which that would be surprising to me because
yes,
public schools are a little bit wilder than they were
yes,
5.
mm-hmm.
But who knows? Maybe there's one where, a charter school where it's
Mm-hmm.
a solid curriculum and solid teachers, or a Montessori school, or other options. But I think the what's most important is really to take the time to discern and to come about it in a mindset that allows you to see this matches what I see with my children and
Yes.
within my marriage and our day-to-day life.
Yeah. And that's so powerful because we are all so different and our desires and our needs are so different as families. But then it's also like having the open mind of knowing that we can research and it's not one way fits all. And then that there are so many other different ways to educate your children. This one is my favorite because I love the freedom that comes from allowing ourselves to experiment.
Yes.
I think that is like, this is why I decided to homeschool because for me, I struggle with the rigidity of day to day life in the schools. That was my decision. For me, that was not a good fit for me as a mom. And it was not a fit for me with my children because I was always cranky and I was just very short tempered. And I realized that I was working from home and I'm one of those people too that I do not learn one specific way. And that was
Hmm.
my favorite thing when I was a teacher too. I loved implementing different ways to teach my kids because we are all so different. And for me, one of the things I experienced with my children, especially my oldest, was she was very into reading very early in her years. And I wanted to support that desire for her rather than keeping it controlled. Does that make sense? So that was for me a big reason why I decided to do it a little bit differently. And Montessori, it just fits so beautiful with that education of being open and being flexible and experiencing things on your by yourself on your own. You know what I
Both.
mean,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
And at our own pace, right? Of
Yes.
we've had some children come and spend time with us for summer camp this year and at other years. And occasionally we have students who come without a Montessori background, which is beautiful and wonderful, and we're excited to welcome them. But occasionally I get a little bit shocked when one of them is like, "Oh, you guys do cursive? We're not allowed because
Mm,
we're too young." And I'm like, "Oh no, that's so sad. Like, I don't want you to feel that." Or like division, I've never been allowed to learn division because that's next year. And I'm like, no,
right.
if you're ready for it, if you're interested, let's learn division. There's nothing that
Yes.
says you can't, and I think that's one of the beauties too with homeschooling is you're able to follow your daughter. You're able to really
Yeah.
see, you want to read, let's read. Let's not
Yeah.
have you be held back. And again, different school settings may be able to accommodate that different ways.
Yeah.
And the hope is that there's communication between parents and teachers and that the children's love of learning is just cherished. I think
Yeah.
that's so critical. There's nothing sadder than a 7-year-old who hates going to school
Yeah.
because they don't want to sit at a desk or because whatever else is going on. So being able to make sure that parents know that there are other options if where they're at is not leading to joy, is not leading to
Yes.
holiness, is not leading to peace. And I love what you said of just, yeah, if you're able to recognize, like, I'm cranky. Why am I cranky? Is
Yes.
it just because I'm a mom or I'm
Yes.
not getting enough sleep? But being
Exactly.
able to see, like, what can I change within my environment so that I can be more present and a holier mom to my
Mm,
children? And I think that's really beautiful. And that's the Montessori message for at home too, of what is going on in the environment at school or at home, actually,
mm,
that is leading children to love learning or taking them away from that, or
I love
what's
that.
allowing them to be present and working happily and what's not allowing that. So I think that
Yeah.
you have just a really beautiful mindset around discernment and within education.
Yeah. And I think that's like when I thought about this podcast, was what I really wanted to talk about too, was like our role has to be authentic to us, not what society's telling us that needs to be done, but what we believe needs to be done, what God is telling us that needs to be done. Because to me, it's like even as a business owner, that's an important thing. It's like you need to take in what God is calling you to do, even if it looks weird or different to everyone else. And just being authentic in how you are leading your children, it's so powerful.
Yeah. And it just allows such greater freedom with your relationship with Christ too, right? Like it's not just about, I just don't feel like it right now. It's having that conversation with Christ, having that discernment, taking the time. Like the surrender novena is one of my favorites.
Me
I
too. I
Yeah,
have chills. I finish it and I start it again. 'Cause-
yes,
yes.
absolutely, absolutely. I'm in the midst of it right now, and of just, yeah, just surrendering it to Christ. That's how our school of Sophia was able to open, is through the surrender novena, and just having that time to talk with Christ of just what's going on. Help me understand and discern what's going on in my heart. And is it from you? Is it just because I'm a fallen human who's still very selfish? Is it, or is this something that I really do need to dig into more? And talk to people around you, like for with homeschooling, I know it can sound so scary. At first, you're like, how do I do all of
Yeah.
this? But talk to other people who've done it. I feel like there's such a greater openness about doing things differently. And that's something to really rejoice in, of being able to
Yeah.
find community through that and being able to listen and trust our instincts.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And I think the thing that popped in my head when you were saying this is being willing to change your mind, because that's how I signed up for homeschooling. Truly, I like signed her up for kindergarten and we did it through Seton. It was just like, I'm just going to try for a semester. And then January came and I'm like, just push through. We'll be fine. And then the next year I'm like, I'll just try it again. And now we're in second grade and I'm like, yeah, okay, we'll do it again. We love it. It's fine. But you grow into the thing. You don't know if you're going to like it until you try it. And so I think it's just
Mhm.
great to go and visit and talk to people and find the community that know about it already for them to make a decision that aligns with who they are and who they want to be. Right?
Absolutely. Well, and I love that you could have changed your mind and be like, this year we do need to
Yeah.
be in school, and that's okay. I see it with families we've had at our school who um, came to school for a couple of years and then homeschool and then came back.
Yeah.
No problem. You can do that. And then we've had some who did that and then went back to homeschooling. It's beautiful to be able to see that different years bring different joys, different challenges, and how do we create a space and an environment that allows for God's presence
Hmm.
in the midst of those joys and challenges, as well as freedom to really see what is going to work best for the whole family. Um,
Yeah.
and that's beautiful.
Yeah. Then yeah, for sure. And every single year is going to look different. I
Yeah.
just went through putting my oldest in CCD for
Mhm.
her first communion. I always forget those three words, always get them confused. Anyhow, and I was like, it's going to look different this year. I'm not going to teach religion. I'm going to let her have a sister who's walking with her through this. And then the rest of the time we'll homeschool. And I think that's what's so fun about life is being flexible. Is when we're so rigid that things are not that fun. So it's
Mhm.
just, yeah, being flexible and taking our our place as the parents to make the decisions and to like I just love that every mistake that we make, quote unquote, I'm putting quotation for those of you who are not watching the video, to yeah, like we are going to make a mistake and it might be a mistake, but it probably is just a learning opportunity. Like we're going to learn something wherever thing that we decide to do. Yeah. So these things are it's just really fun. And it's very educational for us to learn more how we can support our kids better.
Oh, for sure. Because for your children to see you make a mistake and work through it and process it is incredibly helpful to
Mhm.
their own development and their own confidence and like I can make a mistake and it's okay. We see it in the classroom, with Montessori regularly of, you'll have a child who I had this happen not too long ago, a child who was so upset. It's like, I made a mistake. I'm like, me too. I make a mistake. And sometimes we just need to take a breath and try again. And that's okay.
Yes.
And I know I struggle with those emotions too. So it's really a community and a life of learning where what we learn for the children and what we learn for ourselves are very integrated and and that's just beautiful. What a gift.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
love it.
I love learning with them too. They have so much to teach us. And so to me, it's always such a fun. We had homeschooling today and I sat down to do religion with both of them. And oh, that's another thing that I wanted to touch base is how good it is for them to be combined, because that's something that you guys do, correct? That you combine
Yes.
ages and them learning from one another is such a powerful learning experience.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I forgot to say. So based on Montessori's planes of development, the classrooms are then split because by those planes. So 0 to 3 or 2.5 are together, 2.5 to 6 year olds are together, 6 to 9, 9 to 12. So it kind of helps split up in the halves of the different planes of development. And it's so cool. You get to see 2.5 and 3 year olds coming in and they're just still kind of figuring out how to walk, how to talk to their peers, using the bathroom, asking for help, those very simple things. And then also learning academics um, and then the second year they're a little more confident. They're digging into bigger things with language and math and learning about the world and communicating with their peers and expressing, I'm angry right now or I'm happy right now, being able to go through that. And then that third year, they really get to be the leaders. They get to teach the younger children, like, hey, I remember being small and learning this, and I didn't know it at first. Now I get to teach it to you. I get to share that with you. And now, and we know that when you can teach something is when you really truly know it. And
Yes.
where else in the world are we segregated by our age? You know,
Yes.
like having that community of learners is incredible. So it's just such a joy, and I think that's another benefit to that we see with homeschooling of having siblings be able to have time
Yeah.
together instead of like, well, you're my younger sister and you're 3 grades below me. I can't talk to you or your friends. Like,
Yeah.
no, instead we need to live like that. That's
Yes, I do. That's one of my favorite things to see with my girls too, because they go out in the
Mhm.
world and they're like meeting new people. And to them, there is not a barrier that it's like, oh, he's older, or she's older, and I can't talk. To them, it's like, hi, my name is Sienna. How are you? And they're just having conversations, which is so fabulous to see, to see them be free and be themselves. And I love that. Of course, like there's boundaries, and we're gonna set boundaries because we're parents, and of course,
And
it's
we
gonna
need
happen.
boundaries. We adults and the children, we all need
Yeah.
boundaries. God gave us boundaries too.
Yes, for a
And there's
reason.
such a help to having good boundaries that makes sense. And I think with children, when you explain why there's a boundary, that helps so much,
Hmm.
especially with your 7-year-old. Like she's like, tell me more of why. Because it's
Yeah.
not just like a simpler why of like, but why? Now it's
Right.
like, why? But also I'm gonna try to do my own thinking of like, does that makes logical sense to me as well? Because she's in
Yes.
that plane of development of intellectual independence and yeah, continuing to learn and grow so that it's also her own capacity to think and not just, oh, that's because that's what mom and dad told me.
Yes. Yeah. And it clicks so much better. That's one of the things you were saying at the beginning is that intrinsic motivation that it's like they are making the decision for themselves to love something or to do something. It's so empowering. And as they get older, that's what I want to see is my girls feeling empowered in who they are and loving their faith and loving their relationship with God. It's just, yeah.
Amen. Amen.
It's
So
so
good.
fun. I love it. Okay, what would be an advice that you would want other parents to take in?
Yeah, I think, oh, I have so many, but I think I'll go. Well, I talked a little bit about this of just teach your children before something's going to happen. So
Mm,
give them those skills, and I think that's really something that can absolutely change your parenting because there can be so many frustrations of like going to the grocery store and somebody has a fit because they really wanted, I don't know, a toy or a banana, whatever.
yeah.
And so being able to practice beforehand and setting the expectations and setting the boundaries of like when we're going to go to the store, each person gets to pick one fruit that we've never tried before or something like that.
Yeah. Hmm.
And let's pretend that we're in the grocery store and we see something we really want, but we just mom's going to say no. How are we going to act? And role play with your children. Pretend and have fun with it. And then when you go to the store, you're like, "Oh, do you remember? Oh, I know you want this and I'm going to write it down, but right now we can't. So how are you going to choose to react? Do we want to make a pouty face like this? Or are we going to say, it's time, no problem?
Yeah.
So 'cause then you're reviewing something that's already been established. So I think that would be one of my number one recommendations. And another one is just take a step back and watch. Take a step back to don't, if your child is playing, just don't say anything, don't interact. Just pretend you're a scientist with a notebook and even write everything you see down. Is your child, depending on the age, let's say 6 months old, reaching for that toy, or 6 years old and creating cool Lego constructions, and how are they thinking about it? And what are they, where did this come from? Ask those questions as you watch. We interact sometimes a little bit too much with our children of just interfering and not allowing them the time and space to create and think and do things on their own. So take a step back would be my other big recommendation, and
Yeah.
ask questions of other people who, homeschool, go to school, and please, please, please don't feel bad. Don't put pressure on yourself because sometimes you might not have the option to homeschool. You might not have the
Yeah.
possibility of Montessori. You might not have, you know, a different charter school or a school that's as good as you wish it were. Uh, and so please don't pressure yourself. Don't feel bad about any of those things, but take the time to think of, my school situation might not be perfect. What can I do at home? And
Yeah.
how do I continue to love my children and to show them that, yeah, even if we're not in the perfect school, we as a family are here for each other and we're here to learn and grow with each other and closer to Christ.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. All of it. Yes, it's so beautiful. And that's exactly it. That is our role, is to remember that no matter what and no matter what we decide to do, what fits in our family, we still are the primary educators. They're still going to have that connection to us as their parent always. That no one can take that away.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that's a beautiful reminder. One of the things that I was going to ask you in this podcast that I did not tell you was to see if you had a saint, a favorite saint slash your favorite quote.
Ooh, good ones. Favorite quote, I'm going to kind of cheat and I would just say the Jesus prayer of Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Yeah, I think I'll use that.
I don't think that's cheating. Okay, I accept
Yeah,
it.
I'm just it's the first one that comes to
I
mind,
love
and
it.
so within the Byzantine Catholic tradition, it's you're supposed to breathe in for Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, and then have mercy on me, a sinner. You breathe out of a way of breathing in Christ, breathing out our sin, and
I love that.
to help us to pray and without ceasing. And
Yeah.
so that would be my quote. And then for Saint, oh, that's so hard. Joan of Arc is always going to be my homegirl because she saved France and
Of
she had
course. That
the
makes so
sword.
much sense.
Yeah, she never used it, but she had a sword and she was really cool. So that would be one. And then Saint Mary of Egypt, if you guys don't know her, go look her up.
I'm gonna look her up. Yeah.
She's incredible. She lived in the desert for 40 years, only got to receive the Eucharist like twice when she lived in the desert. And when she died, she was buried by a lion, which that's pretty cool. So
I have
that's a
chills.
very small,
What?
yeah,
That's
she's
amazing.
incredible. She's incredible. She was living a life of sin and she was like, well, I need to go to the desert. That's what I need. So look her up, read up on her
Wow.
life. I'm not doing her justice, but she is a
I'm gonna
very,
look it up.
very saint.
That is beautiful. Ah, Pauline, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been such a pleasure, and I could talk to you forever about this stuff and all of it, but this has been so fun. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much. It's again, I agree. We chatted, once before, and I'm excited
So
to
fun.
chat more and more with you. And I agree, we could talk about this for hours. And if people ever want to reach out and
That's what
ask
I was just
questions,
gonna ask you. How can
yeah,
people find you? Yeah.
yeah. So you can look us up, sophiamontessori.com. So SOPHIAMONTESSORI.com. We're on social media. You can email, and I'm always happy to answer any questions. Whether you're local or not doesn't really matter. Part of the vision of Sophia Montessori is to really be of support to
Yeah.
families and to children, and yeah, promote awesome Catholic education, whatever it looks like.
Amen. I love it. Yes. Reach out. She's amazing. You're gonna love it. But yes. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for taking the time to be part of this community. If you are enjoying these episodes, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel so that you are notified the next time the episodes come out. Also, right now, I have some spots open to work with me one-on-one. This program will change your life. I 100% believe that without God, we can't. But without us, God won't. I will help you step into your power. I will help you take the actions that you need to take in order for you to create the most fulfilling and aligned life. A life that feels aligned with you and with God. And that life is available to you right now. Check the link in the description to reserve a time to chat with me. I will see you then.